Yeah, this is always the nerve-wracking bit. Hi. So for those of you who haven't met me before, I am Claire Atkins. I am the senior peer worker at Durham and Darlington, and I do work for TEWV. But I do live in TEWV, so for those of you who work for TEWV, hi, I live here. I'm not just visiting from Durham. So, smoking. Yeah, it's a thing, right? So I started smoking 13, maybe, ish. Quite young to be smoking, but I was. My parents smoked, my grandma smoked, my granddad smoked, my friends smoked, the older kids around the block, they smoked. Everybody I knew pretty much smoked. I mean, when I was 13, you're talking what? Early 90s? Not to give away how old I am, but yeah, back then, it wasn't as prevalent now for quitting smoking, right? So, start smoking at 13. By the time I'm 16, I first get sectioned. So during my first section, mid-90s-ish, there was a cage on the roof. We had to go to a cage on the roof the nurse would take you up, because obviously locked doors, I was sectioned. And there's a cage thing on the roof. This is down south, not local, for all those looking at me thinking, where's she talking about? This is down south, it's not local. So there's a big cage thing on the roof. I mean, they used to let us go and smoke in there. Everybody on the ward smoked. Everybody. It wasn't just me. Most of the staff smoked. So 16, smoking. By the time I'm 17, I'd been through something really horrible. My first admission to services was brutal at best. We won't dwell on the nitty-gritty of that, but at least to say, when I came out and I got home, I threw all my meds in the bin and went, yeah, I don't want none of that. Don't want any of them. I have nothing to do with none of that. So I ran away. By the time I was 19, I was living in Europe, partying my way across Spain, drinking lots, taking lots of drugs, and still smoking. So, party across Spain for a few years. By the time I'm in my late 20s, I come back to the UK. Went to uni, went to college, got into uni, did all those things. I'm still smoking, I'm still drinking, and I'm still taking drugs. By the time I reach about 30, I have an accident where I fall down the stairs. Annoyingly, I was sober. Pretty sure if I'd been drunk, I probably would have bounced, but I wasn't, and I definitely didn't bounce. So, I end up flat for a year. So what happens? The shadows of my mental health creep back in. So I hadn't been in services from being 16. Here I am, early 30s, flat on the floor, mostly off my face most of the time, and I end up back in services. So it starts with a plethora of pain medication, because I had to have back surgery twice because I'd knacked my back. And for me, that's where the addiction really took hold. So whilst I was dabbling in recreational drugs, yes, I was, I don't know if I was an addict at that point. I was certainly a smoking addict. Drugs, not so sure. Ended up hooked on morphine. That's where it all began. From morphine, I decided to get off the morphine, and oh Lord, what happens? I end up with a cocaine addiction. Yay, Claire. Swapped one thing for probably something horrifically worse. Moving on to my mid-30s by this point, I've had to drop out of uni because I missed a year due to the operation. I have no sense of purpose, no life, no nothing, and my mental health is massively struggling. My addiction has took over. I am now drinking 7 days a week, and I'm also using drugs 7 days a week. Not a great place to be. At that point, something happened, and someone I cared about very much died. I went on the biggest binge of my life for about 6 weeks. And I sat there one morning, and I actually looked at the clock, and that's weird, because I know now, I looked at the clock, and it was, I don't know, it was like 11:15 or something on a morning, and I just looked around the room, and I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? There's a beer bottle, there's like a mirror, and there's cannabis paraphernalia, there's all sorts, and I'm just like, I'm going to end up buried next to her. It is what I decided. So I just thought, do you know what? That's it. I'm done. At 11:15, I threw all my beer down the sink, I threw all my drugs down the toilet, and that was it. May the 24th this year, I have been sober for 10 years. Now, whilst that was a hell of an achievement, and it really was, because it was one of the hardest things I ever did, getting off cocaine quite possibly was horrible. I remember that week of laying in bed and someone having to pick me up, undress me because I was soggy because I'd sweated through everything. It was horrible, horrible withdrawals. But do you know what I'm going to tell you all? Getting off cocaine was easier than quitting smoking. And that is a fact. I didn't have any help to get off cocaine. I didn't go into rehab or anything like that. I didn't have any help to get off alcohol. I did it all myself. So, 5 years later, I'm still sober. I did all of that, and I thought, right, that's it. I'm doing really well. My mental health's stable. I'm getting into, I discovered a world of peer support. Who knew? I found a purpose. I was getting out of bed. I was doing things. Life was great. That's it. I'm quitting smoking. That's what I decided. I'm going to do it. So, yeah, not the first go I didn't. Definitely not. Definitely didn't succeed the first go. Second go, not so much. Third go, I spoke to somebody who introduced me to NRT. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know those. I thought they were expensive. I thought I'd pay for it. Didn't know I could get it for free. Turns out it's a thing. So, patches, lozenges, the little thingy things, the chewing gum, I have tried it all. Pretty much. Not everything worked for me. I didn't like the lozenges, gave me the hiccups. Really didn't like that. Chewing gum and patches, that was my thing. And then I discovered it sounds crazy, but it's it's a little piece of metal pipe and it doesn't have anything in it, but it repeats that hand to mouth motion, right? So I quit smoking and I did it. And I did it for 3 years. I actually quit for 3 years. However, there is a but at the end of that sentence, right? Because the shadows of my mental health came creeping back in a little while after that, after I'd been quit for 3 years. And oh no, what's the first thing I reach for? Of course it is. So there we go again. The cycle starts again. The shadows of my mental health creep in. I start smoking. Oh, this is terrible. Did it, got back off it. The cycle starts again. I'm smoke-free. Yay! So the pattern persists though, right? Because unfortunately last year, some of you saw me smoke elsewhere, and I did speak elsewhere, and I was vaping at the time, and I did really well. I got back off the vape. But towards the end of last year, unfortunately, something happened. I became physically unwell. My mental health shadows, oh, lo and behold, there they are again. And what's the first thing I reach for? Of course it is, Claire. Of course it is. It's that. There's something about, and I can't stand here and tell you it's because of nicotine, it's because of this, it's because of my mental health. I am very much in the statistics that have been shown on that screen this morning. I've recognised myself in quite a few of those statistics. It's that you get from smoking that you can't get from anything else. And I don't know how else to put that in words to you. It's that when my mental health is bad, smoking is the first thing I reach for. So I am smoke-free again. I did smoke for 3 weeks at the end of last year. I am smoke-free again. But it's that perpetual battle. And it's you guys thinking about when you're working with people with lived experience and you're working with people who do have mental health, how do you help them? Because it is, even now, the first thing I reach for. It doesn't matter that I haven't touched cocaine or alcohol for 10 years. As soon as I get unwell, that tobacco is the first thing that I reach for, even now. So think about when you're working with your clients in the community, if you've got to take them somewhere and they've got to go somewhere smoke-free, plan it, talk to them, think about it. What NRT are they going to need to go to that hospital appointment so they can have the scans and the tests or whatever, or wherever it is that they're going? If you've got to plan an inpatient admission for them, don't do it when they get there. Give them all the stuff before they leave their own house. Don't let them walk into the ward and then go, oh, yeah, suddenly, sorry, yeah, sorry. That coping mechanism that you rely on for everything in your daily life, yeah, we're taking that from you. You can't have that in here. Plan it. Think about it. It is harder to quit up smoking. I really promise you it's harder to quit smoking than it is to quit hardcore drugs. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. But it can be done. So support the people you work with in advance with as much stuff and as much prep as you can give them, and hopefully they too can beat the cycle.